This is Grandpa's Great Escape, based on Grandpa's Great Escape, and following on from last time when we talked about Gangster Granny, based on Gangster Granny. This is a board game for 2 to 4 players that takes about 15 minutes to play. Oh! What on earth just happened? This game, just like the book, is about that most exciting, dynamic of characters, the grandfather. Well, anyway, I think you'll agree that this game looks pretty cool, and it definitely has some surprises, so keep watching until the end for more reading, playing, singing, and silliness. First though, let's look at the book it's based on. This is Grandpa's Great Escape by David Walliams, illustrated by Tony Ross, and published by HarperCollins in 2015, and oh look, it's a plane. It is about Jack and his grandfather, who was a Second World War Spitfire pilot, but who now is quite old, rather unwell, and very confused. It is a long book, but eventually Grandpa ends up in Twilight Towers, a care home staffed by thugs dressed up as nurses. Jack figures out an escape plan which, slight spoiler, involves all the old people climbing out the roof, down to the ground, and over the wall via a willow tree. The title refers to The Great Escape, a classic prison break movie, also parodied in things like Chicken Run. Start with Jack, Grandpa, and Mrs. Trifle here in Twilight Towers. The path to escape is up the willow tree, over the fence, around the board, avoiding the thug nurses, and if you land on a takeoff space, you move up into the sky, avoiding the plane and hopefully out here. Up, up and away. Roll both dice, just like in Gangster Granny. One is for you and one is for the nurses or the plane. You can choose which of your characters to move and which of the baddies to move to. And this is important because if a baddie lands on you, that piece goes back to the start. In fact, any piece will send you back to the start. The nurses, the plane, or any of the other players. There are also Wing Commander cards, which are like chance cards and are variously good or bad. To win, you need to move all of your pieces off the board, and if you haven't already guessed, that makes this basically a version of Ludo. It's not bad. It's certainly a lot better than some of the Harry Potter games. The artwork is excellent. It is taken from the original drawings by Tony Ross, and it's cool how they include the willow tree, which is how the old people all escape from Twilight Towers. Is it as good as the book though? Let's have a look. Grandpa's Great Escape follows a lot of the same beats as Gangster Granny, and once again David Walliams is doing Roald Dahl. I thought Stash the Swag was a great adaptation of an okay book. This one though, right, I want you to understand that The Great Escape is actually a very small part of the book. The book called Grandpa's Great Escape. Before that, there's a load of stuff about him climbing onto a church roof, then a massive bit about the Imperial War Museum, then a section with 2 detectives, one of whom is called Kimberly and is embarrassed about it, which seems to go on and on. Grandpa doesn't even get to Twilight Towers until page 219, and the escape is hardly great. They climb over the wall. Really, it should be called 200 or so pages of stuff, and eventually Grandpa's frankly unremarkable escape. There are good bits. Jack's relationship with his granddad is very sweet, and if you've ever visited the Imperial War Museum and seen a Spitfire, I'd bet you'd love to read about those things again. But then there are the problems. So many things are totally unbelievable, even for a children's book. Like, how on earth does Grandpa climb up onto the roof of a church? How does Jack manage to cycle from his house to Twilight Towers on a tricycle? How does nobody spot that the nurses are actually men? How does Grandpa manage to sleep in the Spitfire cockpit without being seen. Do you know how small they are? And the biggest, most annoying one of all, how do all these very old people climb up a weeping willow branch and over a wall? How? Weeping willows have droopy branches, but they're not ladders.
This is a weeping willow, and I'm half Grandpa's age. Watch me try to climb this.
It can't be done. So, after all of this, surely the game is a little bit better, right? It focuses on the best part of the book, the actual Great Escape. The first thing that impressed me about this game was the 3D walls of Twilight Towers. This definitely brings the book to life in a way that Gangster Granny Stash the Swag didn't manage. I also like that you have 2 dice and you're forced to move the baddies as well as your own pieces. There might be situations where you have to move onto an opponent's piece and send them back, or even onto one of your own pieces. But then, there are problems. These 3D walls, which seem so cool at first, are actually really annoying. It's impossible to see any pieces on the far side of the board, so you constantly need somebody else to move them for you. Then there is the willow tree. That's right, the impossible to climb tree that is central to the whole Great Escape. Everybody has to move through the willow tree space, which is fine because it's part of the story. But it means that almost immediately you get a massive traffic jam right here. Now, keep in mind that you can only move one piece per turn, and you cannot share spaces without sending someone back. Plus the nurses are always moving closer and closer. You end up with total carnage outside after just a few turns, and only a few lucky pieces get away. But even if you do manage to avoid the traffic jam and get up into the sky quickly, you still have a chance of being sent all the way back by this plane, a Messerschmitt, which goes round and round like the nurses do. But let's say that you avoid the traffic jam and the nurses and the plane and you roll really well, there are still 39 spaces from the start to the finish. And you have to do this with 3 pieces. 3 times 39 is 117. If the average dice roll is 4, that's still 30 turns to win the game if you play perfectly. That's crazy. It says you can play this game in 15 minutes. 15? Nobody can possibly finish the game in 15 minutes. I'm going to go back in time and punch myself in the back of the head for saying that. This is a board game for 2 to 4 players that takes about 15 minutes to play. Oh, what on earth just happened? You know, my videos are supposed to be about showing you why books and games are cool and showing your parents how they can use books and games to have fun with you and teach you stuff. Yeah, even the videos about poo games. So with that in mind, here are the educational bits by timecode, so you can pick the bits you want to watch or skip ahead to the song. Maths. When I said 3 times 39 is 117, that is multiplication. Let's look at some different ways to do this. We know each piece has to move 39 spaces, so let's use 1 stone for each space and put them in a big pile. We have 3 pieces to move, so let's make 3 piles. 3 times 39. Then let's put all of them together and count them up. 115, 116, 117. Phew, there is an easier way though. Let's break up 39 into 10s and 1s. 30 and 9. Now we need 3 of each of these because we are multiplying 39 by 3. 3 lots of 30 is 90. I know this because 3 3s are 9, then I put the 0 back on. 3 9s are 27. I know this because I know my 9 times table. Add together 90 and 27 and I get 117. Multiplication like this is useful in almost all games. In the comments, tell me how many spaces you would need to move with just 2 characters. Would that make the game better? Now, let's get back to the book. The next bit is English. There are quite a few things I don't like about David Walliams' writing, and let's be clear, I still think his books are good to read. But one that sticks out to me is the lazy habit of writing, "Eventually they managed it." This is lazy because it tells us that something is difficult without actually showing us how it is difficult. By the way, this is ironic because there is a character in David Walliams' TV show who is too lazy to write her own books.
Clarissa was similarly overjoyed. Yahoo!
Anyway, there are a few examples of this lazy writing. It was hard going, but finally the boy reached the main building. Fortunately, they soon found one. It was tough work, but at last the cannon was pointing up at the museum. Finally, the pair managed to hoist themselves up onto the roof. Next time you're writing a story, here's how you can show us the action without being lazy and telling us. 1. Break up the action into small steps. Instead of, "It was hard going, but finally the boy reached the main building," try, "Jack's knees and elbows ached with every movement across the grass. His neck ached from holding his head up. He seemed to hit every twig, stone and ringpole in the long grass, and even a rusted piece of barbed wire. He kept going, snake-like, inch by inch, until at last the wall of the main building appeared like a cliff in front of him." 2. Use similes or metaphors to show difficulty. Instead of, "It was tough work, but at last the cannon was pointing up," try, "The cannon groaned like a grumpy elephant. Jack pushed with all his strength, feet sliding on the floor until the cannon grudgingly tilted up just a little." 3. Add reaction to show the effort was real. Instead of, "Finally they hoisted themselves onto the roof," try, "Their arms burnt as they pulled themselves up. Jack flopped onto the rooftop, gasping. Next time," he wheezed, "we use the stairs." 4. Use dialogue to break up the action. Instead of, "Fortunately, they soon found one," try,
"There,"
shouted Grandpa.
"Where?" "At the end of the street."
Jack squinted at the petrol station. It seemed a long way to push an aircraft. "Let's hope we can fit on the forecourt." In the comments, rewrite this lazy sentence using one of the strategies above. "Eventually, they managed to climb over the wall." Well, enough laziness. Let's go outside and learn about trees. Science. Trees are pretty amazing things, especially weeping willows, even if you can't climb them that easily. I know you must have heard this 100 times, but it still blows my mind that something as tiny as an acorn can grow into something as enormous as an oak tree. There are a few ways to identify trees, depending on the time of year. In the summer, when they are green, you can look at the leaves. In the winter, when they are bare, you can use their twigs and branches. In the springtime, like when I'm recording this, many trees flower or blossom, and you can use this method to identify them. You can also look at their nuts and seeds during the summer and autumn. This resource is from the Woodland Trust website, and there's a link in the description. In the comments, tell me about a tree near you that you have identified. The next section is PSHE, and it's a little bit more serious. PSHE. As I said before, Grandpa is quite old, rather unwell, and very confused. This isn't just me being funny. Unfortunately, it happens to many people when they get old. There are some illnesses that can lead to dementia, and in my opinion, this is what Grandpa has in the book. People with dementia may be confused, may wander off and get lost, or may forget their loved ones and even who they are. This can be very hard for their families, even for young people like you. But we must remember that they are unwell and they need our care and love. Just like someone who's got the flu or a broken leg, they need time, patience, and kindness. If you feel happy to, take a look through Grandpa's Great Escape and find some examples that show how Grandpa might have dementia. You can write them into the comments, but don't write anything about your family members in there. That sort of thing you should tell your teacher or another grown-up that you trust.
When I get old, I want to be darling, darling, like an old tree. Those trees are not in wrinkly and rough, but they've seen everything, and they're tall and they're tough. Go! But before I get old and darling, I get right just a tree. I wanna play conkers, we climb up high and sit underneath them and watch clouds fly. Cause they stand pretty still and they don't make a fuss, but you cannot deny that they're older than us. If you take a little time and you try to believe, you will see that we all will become truly gnarly.